Alright, I've written out some things for you. I watched the video you were talking about. It's a very good video. He's already explained a lot of the stuff. I just went over a couple of things for you to know. This right here, you've seen it 1,000 times already. I've told you it's called the slope formula because that's what I call it. But it's actually called the slope-intercept formula. And it's the most common one. It is the equation for a line. Okay, so the slope formula, this is actually the slope formula, this little jazz right here. It looks weird, I know you've seen it. Let me get you a little zoom action. That right there, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's what you use to get the slope exactly. That's why it says equals m. Note m equals slope. Like the guy in the video said, don't really know why they use m instead of s, but that's the case. So this formula right here is what you use to figure out the slope when you don't know it. So when they tell you something like, find the slope of the following points, and you got 2 points or whatever, okay, but we don't know the slope. On a graph, you might have, well, I didn't draw on the graph, so it doesn't fucking matter. But on plenty of your problems, you've seen them give you 2 points. So what you do here is you plug these two coordinates. These are x and y. You know that. X, comma, y. That's a formula version for a coordinate. Just like these are formula versions for actual equations. Typically, these look like y equals 3x minus 2. But in math, when they explain a general concept for the first time, they use basic formulas and they're raw. So likewise, with these 2 points, you would just plug it into this formula. So y2 minus y1. I usually start with the right one and then do it to the left. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to say, and you have to include these subtractions or else it will fuck up the end result. So this is y2 and this is y1 and this is x2 and this is x1. So I'm going to say 2 minus a negative 2. And I'm going to put that over, because it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So now I'm going to use x2, which is 3. 3 minus 8. You don't have to put the parentheses, but I'm doing it in this case for the sake of an example. And that equals, I do the top and then the bottom. 2 minus a negative 2. That's going to become 2 plus 2, which is 4. And then 3 minus 8. Well, negative 8 and positive 3 would give us a negative 5. Anytime you have something like a negative in the denominator, just bring it up to the top or to the left. So you could write this as negative 4 over 5, or my preference, negative 4/5. This is the best way to go. Okay, so now for this example over here. This one's a little bit easier. We do the same thing. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I got 5 minus 1 over 4 minus 3 equals, in the top we got 4, and 4 minus 3 we got 1. So 4 divided by 1 equals 4. So the slope is 4 here. Okay, that's just a couple of basic examples, but you get the idea, and I'll be more than happy to help you on any other ones. So we're going to go to the next page. Alright, so right here, we're going to graph and identify the slope of some of these pre-written equations. Right here, x equals 2. These are the kind of ones that you don't really like. I was telling you earlier, there's x-axis and y-axis for all of these. I'm not going to label them all. Or am I? I am. Alright. I was telling you earlier, when you're graphing these, you want to, if it says x equals something, you want to go to that increment on the x-axis. So here's negative x's and here's positive x's. 1, 2. So now right there, I would draw a line. That's x equals 2. You do the arrows to indicate that it goes on forever. Okay? So x equals 2. Now you have to tell them, well, what's the slope of that? It's a unique case. There are two unique cases with slope. And that is slope of 0 and slope undefined. In this case, this is undefined. And the reason they call it undefined is because they fucking call it undefined, period. Don't ask questions. It means that it's a totally vertical line, like this card. If I was hanging on a mountain that had this slope, I would fall the fuck down. So just know that that is slope of undefined. And you write it as a word. Okay? Next example. Y equals 3. Oh, I also said, I forgot to throw in, you throw in a line that's perpendicular to the axis. So it says x equals, the line would be perpendicular to the axis. Perpendicular angles are marked with a square, and notice a 90-degree angle or a right angle. Y equals 3. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to the y-axis, negative 3. Y equals negative 3. We're going to go to the y-axis, and we're going to find a perpendicular line. We're going to make a perpendicular line. So we go to the increment negative 3. These are positives. These are negatives. This right here is negative 3 because I said so. Draw a little line. It's perpendicular. Goes on forever. It's a right angle to indicate that it's totally perpendicular. The slope here is 0. If I was standing on that, I would never fall off. I would never fall this way or this way. It's just totally flat. Next, Kaula. Alright. Right here we've got an actual equation of a line. Y equals 1/2 x minus 3. First thing you do is, as you know, in the equation of a line, the most important part is the slope and the y-intercept, or b. First thing I like to do is, I like to start on the y-intercept. So it says negative 3. I would go down here on the y-axis down to negative 3. Here's 1, 2, bam, negative 3. I put a dot there, and from there, I fill in the slope. Slope says rise over the run. So if you looked at this as rise over the run, it's telling me to go up 1. So I go up 1, there's 1. And then I go over 2. I've told you before, when you go over, always to the right. So I go up 1 and over 2. Right about there. And then you just intersect these two dots. It doesn't have to be totally perfect, but I like to make nice examples. And that is the line. Even a calculator would show it if you punched in this equation with a graphing calculator. This equation. Y equals negative 4/5 x plus 1. I like to start on the y-intercept, the 1. So I go to the y-axis, put a dot on 1. Now, I've got a negative, so I go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I go over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't have to be perfect. Intersect the lines. That's this line. You know that it's accurate because the slope says it's negative. So that means it's a downhill line. Right here we've got a positive slope, so it's an uphill line. Last one. Y equals 1/2 x. Well, our equation says y equals mx plus b. So we've got a slope and an x, but you don't see a b. So technically that could mean that we're looking at y equals 1/2 x plus 0. So our y-intercept is 0. So we start at fucking 0. Put a dot there. And now we calculate our slope. We put up 1 over 2. So up 1 over 2. Draw a dot, intersect a line, and that's our shit, man. So there's a video for a little bit, too long, sorry about that, but there you go.